Hey guys, welcome to Tall Tales with Taco Bell. Mitch Taco Bell, your host. Last week we spoke with a good friend of mine, Mark Schuster, who was kind of talking about what Marines do when they get out, and what they can do and staying in the reserves and things like that. I have one of my former Marines that worked for me. Well, he's a Marine, but one of the greatest junior officers that worked for me at the time, Michael Anders, and he is a business owner and entrepreneur, and probably one of the greatest guys I know. I asked him to come on because I want to hear about life after the Corps and how he has been building the relationships in his business around the Phoenix, Arizona area. So without further ado, I'd like to bring Michael on. Here we go. Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm wonderful, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. I love that. I love me shot. That thing was nice. You're gonna have all the single women in Phoenix like going, "Hey, is that guy married?" You can say yes, yes. He's taken ladies, but you can join his gym and see him every single day working out with this stud.
100%. Let's make it happen.
All right. Hey, so go back. Where did you join the Corps? How did you come in?
Oh, long story short, I had an early exit from the Air Force Academy, and I finished my degree in health and human performance at Texas A&M at Commerce, also known as East Texas State. So nobody confuses the Lions with the Aggies.
Ah,
And I spent 2 years in Dallas as a strength and conditioning coach and personal trainer. Still had the itch to serve. We were on fighting two fronts, Iraq and Afghanistan, and during the plus up. So I submitted my package to the OSO in Dallas.
uh-huh.
Right after Halloween 2007, I got my acceptance into OCS class 197.
Nice.
The day after Christmas 2007, and I am processed into OCS January 18th, 2008.
Oh, you poor bastard, man. So they had to break the ice on the Quigley for you to go through that, right?
Man, I mean, they called us the Frozen Chosen. OCS in January was uh, interesting to say the least. But standing in formation, 17 degrees on the parade deck was had a little frostbite on the thumbs that I'm still recovering from.
You know, I wonder what's worse, the sweat going in your eyes and the stinging, or the freezing and dropping your rifle because your hands are frozen. I'd
Well,
say
I'd have to say the freezing because even in sub-zero temperatures, you still find a way to sweat. So you're gonna get the sweat in your eyes no matter what. It's probably worse when you're cold.
well. Before we begin, I always ask a good OCS story. What is your favorite OCS go-to story that you might tell somebody?
Oh, hands down. I'm an Air Force brat, and my brother is a career 0311 Marine.
Oh,
And my only lens of the Marine Corps was the grunts through my big brother. I thought that's what we did.
uh-huh.
So I remember my first command inspection, and uh, our CO is making his way through the ranks, and I remember it clear as day. I'm in the fourth rank, and he's just making his way from candidate to candidate. Uh, what's your name? Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? And what's your desired MOS? And I was expecting literally everybody to say 03, 03, 03, 03. And cats were JAG, Herc pilot, engineers, ADGE. And I was like, I remember thinking in my head, can I cuss?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I remember thinking in my head, holy shit, there's options. I thought we were all signing up to be bullet sponges, man. So he finally gets to me and he says, candidate Anders, Waldorf, Maryland, Texas A&M at Commerce, and sir, this candidate does not know. And I remember my sergeant instructor off to the side, like dying on the inside. Like, who let this moron into OCS? How did he get here? Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck.
That's the one I tell the most, because I literally thought I was just signing up to do grunt stuff. I didn't, and I ended up an air traffic control officer. So
Really?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
God. So how long were you ATC?
So I did I just did my initial contract, 4 years. And I got to deploy with VME1 and coordinate airspace and coordinate and deconflict airspace with UAVs over in Afghanistan.
Oh, nice. Where were you based out of there?
So we started at Dwyer, and then I finished up at Edinburgh, up in Sangin. So we showed up in support of the end of Marja and facilitated the beginning of Sangin.
What were you guys using at VMU1?
So the
Pioneers?
The organic squadron was flying Shadows, and us augments were flying Scan Eagle missions.
Scan Eagle. So I want to say we had was it the Pioneer, right?
Pioneer? We didn't have the Pioneer, no.
But that was one of them.
Yeah, Pioneer's one is a UAV asset.
You could barely see. I've got all my sand collection right there. And then I've got some rounds, and then I've got the prop off of one of the Pioneers.
Oh, cool.
So, and it's signed by all Apollo astronauts that I had met.
Oh, wow.
So it's very, very dear to me. But like I tell my wife, don't sell my crap for $1 at a yard sale. Hey, what's this wooden thing? Propeller, man. Hey, who's Alan Bean? I don't know who that guy is. And Fred Hayes and Jim Lovell. The $1, man. So that I used to go over to those guys, and I would take cigars. This was Iraq of 05. I would take cigars, and I would trade the XO cigars for those props that they would spin them up, and if they didn't hit the right RPMs, because they're French props, and if they didn't hit the right RPMs, they ditch them. So I would get boxes of these if they got chips on the propeller or whatever. So I would get boxes of these propellers, and I would send them back to cigar clubs, signed by everybody. Cool. And they would send me more cigars. So it was kind of a self-licking ice cream cone. But then I passed cigars out, and I smoked them, and I got to enjoy what I liked. And then I went out to all the different units, and we give out cigars.
That's awesome.
Those guys were fun, man. So before we start, I have one story. I used to come in the back way because I was the air boss at Al Taqaddum.
Okay.
TQ, Iraq. And I would, in between Fallujah and Ramadi, and it was an old Meg base. So I would jump in my SUV and I would drive across the tarmac, across the taxiways, and I would come in, park on right next to where they launched the birds.
Right.
And I'd walk in to the ops. Well, normally everybody drove around the base, and you would have to go through all the hid shed to get back to that room.
Yeah.
So guys just didn't walk in. Well, I opened the door and I hear one of there's no officers. I don't see anybody immediately. I just see 4 guys, and there are like 6 giant TV screens up there. And I hear the guy going, tick, tick, tick. And I'm thinking, all right, troops in contact. And I'm looking on the screen like, what is he looking at? God, that looks like the top of the old Russian hangar out on the south end of that is that old Russian hangar. Why are they circling the Russian? Holy crap. Those are 3 naked girls up in the top of they were sunbathing nude. These Army girls were sunbathing nude in the top of the anti-aircraft parapet. It was surrounded by sandbags. So they had climbed up on top of this hangar. They were inside this thing. Their M4s were leaned up against the wall. Their clothes were off. They were laying on towels. They had earbuds in. They were listening to music. No idea that this UAV is sitting there doing circles overhead. And so I figured, all of a sudden I hear, and these guys are printing photos. And I mean, we could see the Energizer bunny that's tattooed on one spot. But I decided, you know what, I should probably announce myself. And I, sorry guys, I heard tick. What's going on? And they were like, oh, Control Alt Delete. How do we switch this? And they turn around and their faces are red. And they're like, sir, you're not going to tell the XO, are you? I'm like, No, I'm not. Do you want one of these pictures? Oh, God, no. I do
Absolutely
not
not.
want one of those pictures. Sir, I'm telling you, we've gone over to the Army place and yeah, I'm like, I don't want to know anymore. I'm going to go see the XO, make this crap disappear, get that bird back down on deck. And they're like, yes, sir. But they
Right.
called it telephoto incognito. It was pretty inventive. So I love the VMU guys. They had a great attitude. They had a lot of fun. I enjoyed those
We had
guys.
a, we had,
All right.
we had a class over there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys have fun, man. And the enlisted guys, I don't know what it was. I asked them later, how did you figure that out? And they said one day we were coming in and the guy flying the bird was doing his deal. And the camera operator was just kind of doing the joystick, looking at the base. And all of a sudden he noticed, what are three figures doing on top of that thing laying there? And he zoomed in. So every day they would, there were three Army girls that are probably very famous amongst all the young Marines in out Dakota, Iraq. But another story, another time. So you did VMU 1 over in Afghanistan. How was that tour?
I enjoyed it. I didn't, because the air traffic control pipeline is a little long in terms of getting operational. So once you graduate TBS, you make your push on down to Pensacola and you have 4 months of air traffic control school. And then when you get to your duty station, in my case, Yuma, you have to get qualified on your airfield. So, not all airfields are created equal. And the qualifications that you have to get in order to move back out to the fleet, those timelines are very, very subjective. Yuma just so happens to be the busiest airfield in the fleet because of all the operations that we run out of there. And so I graduate air traffic control school April of 2009. I make a strong push through my qualifications at MCAS Yuma. And now we're sitting at October and we're on our way out of Iraq. So I got put on and taken off 3 deployments during that transition period, at which point I put all my stuff back in storage and I was living on my buddy's couch. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And, what was supposed to be a couple of weeks turned into 3 months. We get to February. They finally pick us up for the VMU. And me and a handful of other lieutenants push on up to 29 Palms for our pre-deployment training. And then I believe April 10th, 2010, we finally leave for Afghanistan. I had a great deployment experience. And I didn't have enough clock left on my initial contract to deploy again. I had 17 months left or so. And they were very strong on 7 on, 14 off in terms of your deployment cycle. So I couldn't get back on another deployment without renewing my contract. Now, where the rubber met the road for me, I was in an interesting position because of my augmentation to VMU1, my training track and air traffic control. I missed out on the second and first lieutenant phases of command time. So I didn't have a detachment commander billet coming to the end of my contract, which would have made me, which was necessary for me not to get promoted to captain, but for me to be promotion qualified for major. So looking all the way down the rabbit hole there, because you're missing this command time, we want to send you to 29 Palms and stand up a detachment up there. When I had peers that were simply going from, and this I couldn't really comprehend this, nor did I really want it for my career, but I had peers that were going from Pendleton to Miramar and just literally exchanging billets. And here I am in Yuma, having just got back from Afghanistan, and now they want to send me to 29 Palms. And I really felt like I was getting the shit end of the stick. And so I start negotiating, I'm like, all right, fine. I'll do another 4 years in 29 Palms if that's what's absolutely necessary by the monitor's standards. If you send me to jump school. And they're like, absolutely not. Okay.
Why not?
I don't know. And but I got to do everything else I wanted to do. So why not?
Yeah.
I was one moving cycle off from taking a joint service assignment in Australia and being the air traffic control officer down in Darwin,
Yeah.
which would have been super cool. I would have loved that. And but it just didn't line up with my extension. So I start shopping around. I had the opportunity to either go to San Diego State or Arizona State for grad school. And Scottsdale, where I live now, is San Diego without the beach. And I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time in the sand. So it just made sense. And so I dropped papers and denied augmentation and moved up to Scottsdale and started my master's in exercise and wellness.
But you stayed in the reserves.
I did. And that's where you and I connected. And I had an interesting time transitioning away from active duty. There were just certain things. I wouldn't say like I had the stereotypical like PTSD adjustment or anything of that nature. But just from a lifestyle standpoint, I had some struggles. Nothing out here is open before 9 a.m. And, what am I going to do with these 4 hours that I've been up? And, there's a relationship integrity that I felt like was missing out here compared to what I had in my brothers and sisters in uniform. And this goes all the way back to my days in football. And what I found common in athletics and in military service was that relationship integrity where, for a couple of pizzas and a case of beer, you can pretty much get anything done, And when I got out here, I needed a ride to the airport. Uber wasn't like a thing just yet. And I remember texting a coworker. I was like, hey, can I get a ride to the airport? And they were like, why don't you just call a taxi? And I was out for no obvious reason at the time. I was taken so aback. I don't fit out here. And at that point, I called the prior service recruiter. I had already got the ball rolling in my new career in personal training. So I didn't have the luxury of time to lat move and go to another school without delaying that. And Phoenix needs a recruiting officer. So are you interested in that? And I was like, well, if I don't have to move and I don't have to go to another school, for sure.
Hell yeah, sign me up.
And so I get to RS Phoenix, and they're like, hey, they're standing up this new program called the SLCDA, Summer Leadership and Character Development Academy. And for everything that you're doing, everything you've done, because I body built and I coached football while on active duty, and everything that you're doing now with Next Level, this seems like a really good fit for you. You get to mentor young kids and, give them the Marine Corps spectrum in a matter of 2 weeks. I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. And off I went to Quantico for 2 summers. And, I still keep in touch with a lot of those kids.
Me too.
We cross paths, and, I would say that it was definitely one of the highlights of my career that I have definitely taken with me into this season of my life, where if I cross paths with anybody that is in ROTC, aspires to be an officer, or is at that crossroads where they could go in or choose another route, I've very much leveraged that SLCDA experience to give guidance and mentorship. It's been really cool.
So people probably don't know the acronym, and unfortunately, due to COVID, I thought that would be my legacy. I thought SLCDA would be my legacy to the Marine Corps, to life, like the Quigley. I thought it would be around forever, but COVID killed it. Summer Leadership Character Development Academy is what we produced, and it was an offshoot of sort of the STEM program that the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe West Point does something STEM related, but
Oh.
ours was more focused. Marine Corps PT wise, we put you in charge. You can't have a Marine Corps session without a little Marine Corps PT.
That's right.
And by God, when you put a guy that looks like you out there in front of these kids, they're just like, oh my God, oh, sir. And, then you come out and you're like, all right, this will be your formation run. Let's do it, and all the stuff that you put the kids through. They absolutely ate that up.
Yeah.
Even the kids that weren't in great shape. I mean, it was Marine Corps toned, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, we didn't expect them to perform like Marines.
Right.
And you had some kids that were just absolute physical studs, and then you had some kids that were not in
Yeah.
great shape. But I think, and there was a young girl.
Oh yeah.
That first year from Atlanta, who I remember she was having a really hard time at first, but by the end of the program, that girl's confidence. We had her sing or something at the end of the. She sang the national anthem, I believe, at the end of the program on stage. That girl's confidence just bloomed, and she's one that I wish I had kept in contact with. Lost track of so many kids after so many summers doing that, but that having you on staff, having all the reservists that came out there was the best thing ever. And we took all those kids and we gave them a little bit of Jedi mind trick at 16 years old, introduced them to the Marine Corps, gave them some swag, do more with less. And boy, so many of them have joined the Marine Corps because of us.
Oh yeah,
so it's
absolutely. Cool. And I don't, if it makes you feel better, even though that program doesn't exist anymore, your legacy is 100% felt in the impact that you made on the kids that you did have.
All because of you all, staff. All I did was plug and play and build the program. You guys implemented and executed good commander's intent and orders. So loved it. But now, so you go back, we do reserve stuff, and you go back to your full-time job, which I absolutely love. Next level performance counseling. So take us through that. Walk us through what you do.
Yeah, so the inception of Next Level, as I was making my exit away from active duty, like I said, I coached high school football while I was at Yuma. I coached 2 seasons at Gila Ridge High School. And after that second season, I knew I was getting out of the Marines, but I still had some time left. So I just took a handful of those kids that were kind of under-recruited, had enough talent to go to the next level, but didn't really have the resources or the know-how to kind of make that happen. And I started an off-season strength and conditioning program on my way out of the Marines.
How many kids would you have in that program?
I think by the time it was done, I got a picture out there on the interweb somewhere. I think I might have had 7 or 8 kids in that first iteration.
Wow.
Yeah. And a handful of them ended up playing at the next level, D3, D2, 1AA. And then when I moved up to Scottsdale, my plan was to get a reputation going as a trainer, get through school, and then upon acceptance of that diploma, open a brick and mortar gym. Mm-hmm. And I was so hyper focused on making that happen that a client became my initial investor and gave me the seed money to make that happen in my first semester of grad school. So we opened CrossFit PHX in the spring semester of my first year at Arizona State. And that was April 1st. We're celebrating 10 years brick and mortar. Really? Next in 2 weeks. And it's been really cool. What we do now has it's evolved as we help our clients optimize their fitness by helping them make themselves a priority again. And because of the work that I did in the Marine Corps and through Thunderbird for my second master's, all a la Uncle Sam. We can talk about the benefits of all of that as we go. I have just been infatuated with what makes quality leadership and how those that are successful do it with happiness and fulfillment. And along the way, I had a podcast that achieved over 1 million downloads. I wrote a best-selling book right there, Inner Circle.
Oh, yeah.
Focus and Fulfillment Habits of the Enlightened. And now we're able to layer that leadership and character development on top of the platform of your physical fitness. And we work with clients literally all over the world and at home base at Next Level HQ.
That's awesome. Now, how did you guys fare with COVID when everybody was deathly afraid and the government was shutting down gyms and everything else? Were you all able to stay open, or did you do it via remote? How did you guys work it?
All the above. I'm very much the formulator of my own opinions. I don't have a distrust for the government, or I wasn't riding this magic carpet of skepticism. You know, COVID was very real, but at the same time, I put my life into this business.
Yeah. I take the politics out of it. I'm just asking, how did you guys survive?
We did everything, everything that you just mentioned, but we also allowed our members. Here's the crazy thing about the lockdown. Never mind COVID and the virus part of the deal. Mm-hmm. We as human beings are not designed to exist in seclusion. Right. And I can't tell you how many of our clients and members came through those doors during the pandemic when everything was locked down, who were just thankful to have a place to go, whether it was just to utilize our Wi-Fi and work remote, or to keep up with their training. You know, we did our best to make sure that we weren't violating any of the health and safety protocols or anything like that. But just creating a space for, you know, members to rent our equipment and take it home to be utilized in their garage. We were running workouts via Zoom like you and I are right now. And then, you know, if people wanted to come train, we just bring them in the back door. And, you know, it was literally just survival mode until further notice. And I remember asking one of the docs, one of our clients, he's an emergency room surgeon, right as things were happening. And I remember asking him very specifically, I was like, how long do you think this is going to last? You know, like,
should I be around forever?
You know, are we talking about like 2 or 3 weeks, or should I be pressing the panic button? And he told me, he's like, dude, just go ahead and buckle up for at least 2 years.
Jeez.
And sure enough, almost 2 years to the day, they lifted all those mandates. And here we are. Just this past week, we celebrated three years since the lockdown.
People on treadmills and bikes wearing masks.
Dude, it was crazy. But you know, I saw, there's a period of my life prior to the Marine Corps, and between the Air Force Academy and the Marine Corps, where I really had to dig myself out of a deep, dark hole. You know, I lived out of my truck for a couple of weeks. I was living on the dollar menu for a little while. I had eviction notices twice. I borrowed my brother's scholarship money to pay rent 1 month. I pawned the rest of my shit to pay rent the next month. Was just figuring it out. And for me, that was rock bottom. And when we got fast forward to the pandemic, you know, I was looking at my situation and I was like, this is, and then I had throw a deployment and the Marine Corps experience on top of all of that. And I'm like, this isn't the bottom. Like, I think we're going to be okay, assuming
COVID.
you take ownership of your situation.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized about the importance of the work that we do in helping people develop resilience. Because what I discovered about a large portion of society is that resilience
Yeah.
didn't exist. And a lot of the struggles beyond people's health and wellness had a lot to do with their inability to handle and manage stress.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that a lot.
So a lot of what we do at Next Level, God forbid this ever happened again, but is just get people like in the appropriate mindset so that whatever stress is thrown your way, pandemic or otherwise, you have the confidence and the competence to manage it.
Yeah, I could see, the one thing I miss about the Marine Corps is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Retiring in 2015, I miss the accountability. If, like I told you on the phone, if you were here with me and I could go into your gym every
Yes.
day, I would work out with you, and I would make, because we've got the mentality. You want to do a 6 mile endurance run with
Mm-hmm.
an M16 slung across your H harness? Yeah, we can do that, and I might kill myself and have a heart attack, but by God, I know I've done it before. I could do it. I would be hurting.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish I missed the accountability of even, God, I've got a CFT due in the fall. I've got to get my PFT done. So I need to go out and work out and do all this stuff. That was the accountability that you had I had,
Yeah.
while I wasn't a physical fitness major type guy. I mean, I loved, we ran 3 to 6 every day,
Mm-hmm.
every other day, either 3, or we did LSD, long, slow distance,
Yes,
or
sir.
we did bikes on the weekends, um, do the big bike ride across Iowa. And just being athletic was a very big part of being a Marine.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, and I miss at 57, I miss my old 25-year-old self looking like you, because I would hang out with guys like you and like-minded people and whatnot. So, God, I wish you were here with me, because doing it over a video thing is just not going to work for this old guy.
It,
But
it, it was challenging. It served its purpose, and it really gave us a glimpse of, what of the possibilities. Because one of the things I was really reluctant on prior to the pandemic was doing anything online, because I had this story in my head that it wasn't as effective as what I'm able to do with somebody in person.
mm-hmm.
And be it via the, what had to be done during the pandemic, I discovered that
You could do it.
I disproved that narrative, and created another opportunity for Next Level to have greater impact on a grander scale.
What's your biggest success story?
Oh man, so I have a client who, there's so many levels to this story. He's also a coach. Spends a lot of time. He helps people through a mechanism called neurolinguistic programming, and spends a lot of time between the ears, and does a lot of organizational development stuff. And for all the breakthroughs that he's had with his clients, he really struggled with this imposter syndrome of, how am I able to facilitate all of these breakthroughs for others, but I can't exercise the discipline to do it for myself?
Sure.
And
Do as I say, not as I do. But
well, I mean, that's kind of that's how he felt he was presenting, which was not the case.
right.
People are, his avatar client isn't coming to him because he looks a certain way. They're coming to him because of the results and his track record of success that he's been able to achieve. Right.
Wait,
But in his mind's eye, because he didn't feel like he looked the part, or at least whatever his vision of the part was, he was less effective, or those success stories were invalidated. So through the work that we did together over the course of 4 months, he dropped 45 pounds, and along the way started signing bigger and longer contracts as far as who he was attracting from a clientele standpoint. That's number one. My second favorite is a client of mine who actually found me through the pandemic, because the facility he was at shut all the way down, and made it so that the trainer that he was working with didn't have a place to train.
Right.
So I got him at a place in his career where he had fallen out of love with this business that he built. And being a one-man band essentially, and building this multi-million-dollar machine on the back of his own labors, he was just tired, and his health had fallen by the wayside as he accumulated his wealth. Now, as we started this journey together, I was like, okay, first things first, let's get your health back on track. And then we can start exploring some of these other ancillary factors. But what's interesting about when somebody makes themselves a priority in terms of their health and wellness, there's some really awesome secondary and tertiary effects of that endeavor. And his bandwidth and capacity, not to mention his vision, his clarity, also improved. So we were able to take him at this fork in the road where he'd fallen out of love with this business that he built, to get him to make some strategic decisions that allowed him to be acquired and remain in his business. Because for people like us, retirement is not really real. We are always going to be doing something purpose driven for the rest of our lives, right? If it's not the Marine Corps, it's going to be flying. If it's not the Marine Corps, it's going to be next level. Like, those dynamics will always exist for us.
Yeah.
Right? And
there's no sitting idle, man. Rolling stone gathers no moss.
So now he sits in a position where he gets to do it's fun again.
Yeah.
And he gets to spend his days mentoring, guiding a vision, and doing focusing on the customer relation end of things, which was what he loved the most about what he had built in the first place. So we separated the wheat from the chaff, and he's the healthiest he's ever been. So we have tangible metrics. Not only did he have to buy a whole new wardrobe, but he added 30 yards to his drive on the golf course. I can't help him with the short game. That's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
But his quality of life is just, his relationships, his business, all of those things have improved as a result, whether implicit or explicit, primary, secondary, or tertiary, of making himself a priority again after leaving himself by the wayside for so long.
Well, during the shutdown, you talked about one of the gyms had closed down. I'm sure a bunch of them did.
Oh, yeah.
Were you able to go in and buy any of these to expand?
No, that's not my aspiration. As far as Next Level HQ is concerned, we've built a destination, very much under the premise, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And with what we've been able to develop online and remote, there's really no justifiable reason for my vision to our impact is not compromised by not having more locations.
Okay.
Right. So it's less logistics to manage, obviously less infrastructure, just operating lean and mean, just like the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
How many employees do you have there?
I got a team of 6.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And all of them, how long have you been working with all these folks?
So I've mentored all of them. They've all come through our coaching development program. So as far as their careers are concerned, here's what I love about what we do. And I didn't really put this together until just now as I'm talking to you. Um, it is very much the Marine Corps way in terms of it's hard, it's long, it's not for everybody, and it's by design.
Uh-huh.
So everybody that is on our team at Next Level has earned the right to be there. And when a new apprentice, coach apprentice comes through the door, the expectation is of my team very much so I earned it, you have to earn it too.
Mhm.
So I know I don't have to manage that effort because the expectation, the culture exists. And
Do you have any
that is very much the Next Level way is very much side by side with the Marine Corps way.
do you have any Marines in there or Army or any former vets?
No, not on my team. I don't. Mm-mm.
Oh man. I
Yeah.
figure you'd have a couple jarheads.
I get a handful that are like on the other side of their careers, whether it's retirement or contract, and they're pursuing other things, and they come into our program and leverage our leaders forum and the personal growth and development end of what we do at Next Level, and just utilize the facility. I have one guy I'm very subtly recruiting him. He just got out of the Army. And he's missing that job satisfaction, and he really wants to get into our universe. So we'll see how it plays out. But it's been a really unique opportunity that we've created at Next Level. It's taken us 10 years to get here, and I feel really good about what lies ahead for us.
And where do people find you? Is it Next Level?
Yeah, so you can go
What's
to
the address?
so our website, Next Level, P as in Papa, F as in Foxtrot, C as in Charlie.com, Next Level, PFC.com.
PFC, nextlevelpfc.com.
Yep. No pun intended. And then you can also find us on Instagram at
right there.
Perfect.
Nextlevelpfc.com.
Mm-hmm. Then you can find us on Instagram at nextlevel_PHX.
All right. Well, we got pfc.com. All right. So I got that in there. I'll put that in the comment section so that we can make sure people know where to find you and hire you if that's something that they can do. So I know that you offer coaches and you offer different programs for different people. So
yeah, everything is funny. I'm glad you brought that up because everything that we do is based in fundamental principles of both physical fitness and leadership development. And it's because of those principles that we're afforded the opportunity to customize the experience. I feel like too much of my industry is married to their respective dogmas, and there's just argument over argument, everybody just trying to scream louder and louder and louder about which methodology is the best, when in actuality they all work as long as you're coachable, you're consistent, and you communicate. It's just a matter of what matches Mitch Bell's lifestyle and your goals as to which levers we pull and buttons we press. And you can't do that if you're married to dogma. You have to operate at a principled level and then build it in. You can't cookie cutter the thing.
What another used to do P90X back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Horton's program.
Yeah.
Have you ever met that guy? Have you?
No,
what do you think about their program?
Like I said, if it works for you, it's great. I don't think it's a one size fit all. I don't think
Yeah.
CrossFit's for everybody, even though it's my preferred method. I don't think bodybuilding's for everybody, even though I thoroughly enjoyed my time as a competitive bodybuilder. And at the same time, I don't think sport specific training is great for everybody either, because if you're running a marathon, if you're preparing for a marathon and you're doing nothing but ballistics and plyometrics and Olympic lifting, well, that doesn't necessarily translate in its entirety to running that race.
Sure.
Right? They're all effective. They all are. However, the application of those things really dictates its effectiveness.
Yeah, but what I like about you is you're taking into account people's condition, their age, doing good coach stuff. So
Thank you.
yeah, that good coach stuff is what's going to be the successful portion of it. You have somebody that will give you a workout plan, but they don't give you the diet. They don't tell you, hey, you really need to stick to this.
Right.
Or they give you a workout plan that's geared for a 25-year-old stud. I can't do that, and you become frustrated and break down.
Right. Well, and at the same time, you got to meet people where they're at. Some of my favorite client testimonials have nothing to do with the fitness end of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Just simply by understanding and critically listening to their issues, by simply mitigating stress, we stimulate weight loss. By simply empowering them to better curate their environments, right? They sleep better. And by virtue of that, of better, deeper, longer sleep, they're healthier. Blood pressure, blood panels, heart rate, resting metabolic rate, all of those things improve. And we haven't even touched the gym yet.
Right.
But you can't do that. You can't strategically put that together if your only resolution to all things health and wellness is a barbell. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to understand the principles of how this whole thing works in order to really strategically put a plan together. And that's what's so awesome about what we do, is we're able to do that at a really high level.
So you don't advise against 2 fingers of absolute vodka at night? Yeah, just pour me. I pour 2 fingers worth, and I sleep like a baby, man. Puts me right out. A little melatonin, man. I'm out. I got to get up at 4, so I do the 4 a.m. get up, leave the house at 4:30.
Yep.
Work till about 11:30. Get home at 12:30. Take a nap for about an hour because I am old and wasted. And the last thing I want to do is go drive to the gym. I need to change my habits. And I've got 2 big burly ass dogs. I should just harness them up and have them take me for a walk and do that every day.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah. Take the dogs out and I'll be little it's starting to eat the elephant again. I'll start on the hind leg.
That's right.
Start working it. Well, hey, Mycal, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I've almost had you on for an hour. We'll leave with this. Tell us your favorite vignette story of your time in the Marine Corps. Something funny. I mean, like that VMU thing, I haven't thought about in a while. But what was the funniest thing that ever happened to you while you were in the Corps?
Oh man, the funniest thing that ever happened to me. Oh my God!
I'm putting you on the spot. Okay, how about this?
Limitless.
Well, how about this? You've got books back behind you. I've got books back behind me.
Yeah.
What is your favorite? Not the one you wrote, but what is your favorite book back there? Eight Lessons in Military Leadership. Oh yeah.
Did you know that Robert Kiyosaki's a Marine?
Yeah. He flew helos in Hawaii.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
a buddy of mine met him and interviewed him.
Well,
Met him at.
he lives here in Phoenix.
Does he really? Have you met him?
I have not yet. Actually, a buddy of mine that I played ball with at the Air Force Academy, because he's big in real estate.
Right.
Just met him at a real estate conference. But when I found out that, here's the thing, and I'm really happy that you have this podcast, because I think that we as Marines and veterans in general can do a better job of just celebrating the creators and the innovators that are beyond the uniform.
Yeah.
I think our fraternity is bigger than we give it credit for, and our influence is stronger than we give it credit for. And there's people like yourself, Robert Kiyosaki, that are really moving the needle at a societal level that we don't know about. The founder of GoDaddy is a Marine.
Is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so getting some creating that lighthouse for us is extremely important, because I feel like there's a dynamic where some of us get out too soon, some of us stay too long, and we're not hyper aware on the opportunities, or do we really understand what we're truly capable of as a result of our service, right? So by virtue of being on podcasts like this one, writing books and really serving that higher purpose, we're able to shed some light on what happens after the uniform. And you're not alone, as so many of us feel that we were or are. And
when we first get out,
there's resources in terms of programs, financial aid, school, and most importantly, that social capital that is the veteran community,
right?
That I feel like is just underutilized at such a massive level.
You need to just go over to his office building.
Yeah.
My buddy flew into Phoenix and went and interviewed him.
Really?
He met him on the tarmac. He's a Marine. He was a Harrier guy. He has a podcast. His call sign's Susan. He has an awesome podcast, by the way. And Susan literally is on the tarmac, and he meets him, and he starts talking to him. He goes, "Hey, sir, I got a podcast. I'd love to talk to you." And he goes, "Sure." And he gave him his card.
Wow.
And he flew out to Phoenix, and he set up in the conference room, and Robert came in, greatest guy in the world. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad maybe 15 years ago.
Sure.
And what always stuck in my mind, when the rich dad told him, "Okay, I'm going to teach you," and he gave him the job sweeping the broom in one of his little stores.
Yes.
And he sees the guy taking the comic books and he goes, "What are you going to do with those?" "Oh, we throw them away." "Well, could I have them?" "Yeah, if you promise not to resell them." Yeah. And so he would give him one magazine of everything, right? And he would take him, he put him in the basement, hired his kid's sister to charge 25 cents an hour for people to come read comic books. What an incredible idea in terms of being an entrepreneur. I mean, that always resonated in the back of my mind, because we did kind of something similar to that, but they were dirty magazines that we found in the dumpsters behind the Marine barracks at Little Creek Amphibious Base. When the Marines would get packed up, they had to go on the ship and sail out. There was all sorts of crap thrown away in the dumpsters. And we go, we're 10-year-old kids. We go dumpster diving, and we found all sorts of stuff. And there was a clubhouse. They pay a quarter, you could go peruse some stuff that you probably shouldn't have. And that story always stuck in the back of my mind, because we did it, I was at Hilton Head, South Carolina, and I wanted to go fly in this biplane, but I couldn't afford the money to go pay for it. So I was out one day, and with your toes, you could feel the sand dollars with your feet. And then I could pick them up with my toes and grab them. So I had a bag, and I started collecting all these sand dollars. And then I took them. My grandparents had a house on the beach. So I took all these sand dollars, put them in a big bucket with Clorox and bleached them, and then put them on, and they bleached out, right? Well, then Peyton Hilton hid 1986 on it with a palm tree. I can do that,
Yeah,
and that was out selling them to tourists for $5.
that's awesome.
And and then come to find out that that was a violation of some state law in South Carolina, and I could be fined $200 per sand dollar or whatever the hell it was. I could get a fine, so I hadn't quite looked into the
Those are
ramifications.
those are the inklings of entrepreneurship right there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. All I wanted was money to go
Mhm.
fly in this Waco biplane,
Right.
Waco YMF-5 biplane.
It's funny because the guys that I deployed with, we get together every other year, the bunch of us, and we do something crazy. We did Machu Picchu together before the pandemic. We
Oh,
just
nice.
we just got back from Kilimanjaro, and in 24, we're gonna whitewater raft Patagonia. You know,
Really?
yeah. And what's funny about that is there's a group of people that are missing that sense of adventure,
Mhm.
that are starting to hitch their horses to our wagon, and that group is getting bigger. So as that stuff comes to fruition, I'll definitely keep you in the loop, and maybe we can get the word out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because there's something interesting that happens both when you're deployed and when you're on trips like this, where you're away from the flagpole,
Mhm.
with
Sitting around the campfire.
not a lot of communication, and you solve a lot of problems for yourself and society, when there's nothing better to do but stare at the tops of your boots and smoke a stogie or two, you
Yep.
know. Um, and it's just I'm really grateful that post the SLCDA, you and I have maintained a relationship, and I'm happy to be on this show today and having reconnected with you. And whatever I can do to support, please let me know, because
Hoorah.
yeah.
Well, listen, when you meet Robert, tell him I want to interview fellow Marine aviator and get him
Roger
on
that,
my
sir.
podcast. You do that, and I'll buy you the biggest steak dinner, Pinnacle Pete steak dinner,
I'm
and
all for it.
you'll chow down on a ribeye on me. All right.
Let's do it, sir.
Ah, man, I appreciate it, Michael. Thanks so much, and really, I'm just so proud of you and all the stuff that you've done in your life. You really have made us all proud. And I mean, hell, JJ's a full bird colonel now. I mean, he'd picked up major, I think, when he
Right.
started working with me. So now he's a full bird colonel. Holy
Mhm.
crap! And who else did I just see picked up lieutenant colonel? Um, Dang it! It'll come to me at 2 in the morning. But anyway,
Always does.
uh, it's nice to see all of you guys have in your military and civilian careers just succeed. And so, anything we can do to help out, let me know. And when you meet Robert, tell him Tall Tales with Taco Bell. And if you want to go bear hunting, you're kind of talking about doing the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I got this guy that keeps bugging me to go bear hunting up in the Northeast. Stay at his cabin. It's like $2,500. Go shoot a bear. And I go, I love killing pigs, especially killing pigs from a helicopter. And
Okay.
then you get a little 30-pound sow, throw it in the back, and come
Uh-huh.
back and put it on the smoker. But
Okay.
the idea of hunting a bear, I don't like that idea, right? You screw
Yeah.
you screw up this much, and they're gonna find you in fecal matter spread
Yeah.
across the
It could,
forest somewhere.
it could
Yeah,
go the
Mitch was a great guy, but he messed with a bear, gun jammed or whatever.
other way.
Poor Mitch. He was out of shape. He should have been hanging out with Michael because he wasn't as fast as me.
Hey,
Mitch got eaten by the
that's it.
bear.
When shit hits the fan, you just got to be faster than the slowest guy. It's all
That's
right.
right. That's right. Mitch should have worked out with Michael. Well, listen, brother, you have a good one, and I will definitely give you a shout next time I have a layover in Phoenix. We'll get together.
100%.
Yeah,
Appreciate
just
it.
hang out for 1 minute, all right?
You got it.
You take care. Hoorah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that. Michael is just one of those great Americans that you love being around positive people. And he, by far, hands down, is up there in my book of most positive, motivated people that you could ever work with. So let me throw this back up here again. And if you are looking for a place to work out, to get advice, he's got a book. He's got all sorts of stuff that could assist you. nextlevelpfc.com. So do me a favor, click on that and give Michael a call. He'll definitely help you out. You guys take care, and until I see you next week, adios, hasta luego, savidazen, chus, sheshini, au revoir, dominicado gozaimasu, tando shinde kurasai, ciao, arrivederci, tashakur, assalamu alaikum, mahala, dovidjania, das vidania. Oh, man, das vidania. Those guys are getting their butts kicked. All right, here we go.